Okay, Nixukoegs. Greetings, my relatives. Anum titapis sikokotoki. Sixko. Amasayi is chistapintikatopi. I am here in what Blackfoot word Black Rock, otherwise known today as Lethbridge. Black stone was found in this area. I wanted to share what I heard as a child and as I proceeded on through my life, all the stories that I heard from other sources. This is going to be part of my introducing myself. I titled this as Kitawaahsiminoon. Kitawaahsiminoon is talking about our food source. I want to dedicate this also to my late friend Narcissus Blood. Narcissus taught me and explained to me the Blackfoot word Kitawaahsiminoon, which means our food source. And so I've always honored that and kept that. And, I was privileged to be, one of his friends when he was here on earth with us. But I, do call on him in the spirit world. There are a lot of people that I heard and that talk about this Anom Kitawaahsiminoon, our land. Okay, with that, I'm going to introduce myself. Nisto nitaniko misam iniskim. My name is long time or ancient buffalo stone. This is the sign language that we make for a buffalo stone. Iniskim, misaminiskim. My English name, and I often would kid about it, my name that I am registered under Indian Affairs, and there's a number there. It's Harriet. My grandfather gave me the name Shirley, so I've always known that. I was never really familiar with my, which I call my Indian Affairs name, and that. So that is what I'm known. I'm from the Piikani Nation, and I guess with all the blessings that I received, I made it into, to become, quote, the Western quote, as a senior citizen. And so it's been a long path, and I've heard many stories. I've heard, the City of Lethbridge put on this study, a traditional land assessment or study for the City of Lethbridge. And we had the three Blackfoot speaking tribes. We had Siksikai, and we had Kainai and Piikani. We all came here and we visited different sites here and that. So as we came to this site, they asked us, the archaeologists, thank you to, again, to Neil Merle. The archaeologists said that they had their findings, that they found a Sundance. And we had come and, and with the different knowledge that was told, that we heard, we all shared. And we said, yes, if you look at the landscape, you could see the trees and that. The big cottonwood trees are the ones that give you, that the fork-like stick, and that's where they would pick their tatsikikunaman, the center pole for the lodge. My late friend, the late James Boy from Browning, Montana, shared with me his grandfather was given the rights to pick and choose the Tatsikikunaman. So he would always travel with his grandfather down in the river bottom, and he would pick a tree. He said he had a certain marking that he'd put on that tree. And he said his grandfather was always praying. As a child, he would hear his grandfather pray and pray, Ayo, Ayo. So with that, he thought his grandfather's Blackfoot name was Ayo. So he called him Ayo. But his grandfather's name was Sitsawanan, bird rattler. So anyway, so that was one story that he had shared with me. And he also told me on the Ohki, the water, when you're going to cut your center pole, you don't never bring it across the river. It always has to be same side as when you're going to build that lodge for Natusi. So, those are just some of the things that I feel are important because, they were shared with me. So as we walked on into that clearing, we looked at all the plants and that we felt was appropriate, and our knowledge that we have today. Yes, this was an okan, a Sundance. The archaeologists were not able to give us a exact date, when this event happened. But as I look at it, this area, Sikohkotuk, Black Rock or Lethbridge, or Sixco, which is the black stone. This was our country. We come here, we would probably winter, you could see how calm it is. There's no wind, there's the trees, there's the water, and all that you need. So a lot of our people would come here to winter. In traditional times, our people would circle around because this land, this Ksahkum, was given to us by Ichtsipatepiyup, the source of all kind. And he gave us, and then he told us that we were supposed to take care of this land, from the Rocky Mountains north to the North Saskatchewan, all the way down to the Great Sand Hills, all the way down to the Yellowstone. That was, became what he took that as our Kitawaahsiminoon. That was our land. So in those traditional times, we had what you would call a seasonal round. And some of the seasonal rounds would be probably over 500 miles, and then they'll come back to a spot. But as they progressed through their seasonal rounds, they took care. They took care of this land, which again, I would again say it was given to us by Istipatapiu. Now this area, I not really familiar if any of our people have taken that step to connect to the land, because this land, was ours before, colonization had come. Amok Napi Tatai. This is what they call the Old Man River. And up there Further west, we'll see where the two rivers would meet. On the other side of that, this hill, where you see a lot of the cottonwood trees. Siitsiksim. Iikaisskini was another name that they used for to refer to Lethbridge, but that didn't come till around the 1880s. They did not realize that in these ravines, their battle, they would hide in these ravines. The major area that the Asina, the Cree, was between here and Tabor. There was an area. That's probably where they set up their main camp. Blackfoot protocol is that we would pray and we would offer tobacco to all the spirit people that have been here before. And, and we call on them and we have them, bless us and, that no harm will come. And we're just here, visiting them. So I'm just going to go back on this report. I just wanted to just reiterate some of the findings that everyone had come up with. They said, seen from afar, Piinakoyiim was born around 1810 in southern Alberta and was the son of two sons. He died during the smallpox epidemic in 1869 and reported the first of his band to succumb to the disease. More than 630 blood members died during the epidemic of 1869 to 1870. He is believed to have died in South Milk River, south of the Sweet Pine Hills or Sweetgrass Hills, Kitawaahsiminoon. He was the leader of the fish eaters, Piinakoyiim, comprised of about 260 individuals, so named when starvation had forced them to eat fish, which was a food they normally avoided. He was a powerful leader of the Bloods, leading approximately 2,500 people from 1840 until his death. It is said that his bones were transported to Lethbridge because he loved this place so much, and were likely buried on a high point after being rubbed with red ochre. That seen afar was buried along the Old Man River north of Lethbridge. As I was mentioning before, there's another story that I had come across, and that talked about when Sinafar died in the middle butte of the Kitawaahsiminoon, the Sweetgrass Hills. This was very interesting because I found out that we had our own morticians, which was something that was, I never knew about. But anyway, the lady's name was Angry Woman, and she was the one that took care of Seen from Afar, and she cut him up, probably drained his blood and took out all the parts that will be easily decomposed right away, and stuffed him with meadow rue and sweetgrass, and she sewn him up, and then that's where they'd wrap him in a buffalo hide and sew it up so that's how they preserved him. Because if you can imagine, it takes us almost a day or so to get to the Sweetgrass Hills. And in those days, they had to, go, by horseback, or, they probably had him in a tripod and brought him across. So anyway, he was buried up in there, and that's probably why we couldn't find a monument. our people were buried up high, and if there was no high points, that's when they would use the tree burials. Ekopitsipia is the Blackfoot word. Ekopitsipia, that's the one that they used. But anyway, this is a great book. It's called King of the High Missouri. It's the saga of the Culbertsons. Um, you could probably, I'm not even sure where one could purchase a book like that, which is really interesting because it even has the family tree in the back of this, that, where Natuyitsiksinaki, which was Mrs. Culbertson. That was Piinakoyiim's sister. And she, in this story, talks about her trip. She even went into eastern United States and, tried to live that lifestyle. But her heart was always heavy because she wanted to be, with her people up here and that. So later, when her Culbertson had passed on, she came up. Her last marriage was to um, Mountain Chief, or Mountain Chief was his name, and and then after that, she passed on, but her last wish and that was that she be brought over and be buried here. And that. So they claim that's when, because she wanted to be next to her brother and that. So that, that's that special area for them. So that's what I know about Piinakoyiim. So this area that we're sitting right now, which is probably, I'm saying it's further west of this Fort Hoopap Drive and further north of that Highway 3. Anyway, again, our people were here along with other tribes, like they say further in towards the Kip area in that valley. That's where Malcolm Clark, the person the tribe who had anything to do with the murder of Malcolm Clark were there. And there were other of our Siksikaitsitapi that had been here. But there was a small group of probably a clan that had been here. And that's where the Asana, they were doing their, it was kind of like a revenge on the way, and then of course, they were still in that era of, raiding. The raiding was still, a, what was it, the sport and that. And so they will challenge each other to see, fight with each other and that. Anyway, I did a research more because I wanted to find out. Okay, most of us have somewhere, somehow, been told the Blackfoot version of this, um, and this was called Akaenisku. Akaenisku was, means the many dead. It probably was named after. It was not called Sikokotok. It was an added, name to Sikokotok, I should say, or Siksku, the Black Rock. So I did my research, University of Regina. If anybody wants to go on there, you can just type in, you know, Blackfoot Cree battle and that. And on there, they'll tell you stories and actually narrations of the different Crees and, their probably their ancestor of, a relative that had fought in this battle. Our Siksikaitsitapi, because it was our area. So we had to, you know, protect it as part of protecting. And so, and of course, again, making that reference to the, the raiding time and that. So if anybody attacked us, we'd attack back. The Crees did not realize that this area was also occupied by other tribes and that. Some of the recordings, some of the, people like that were on that TLU, traditional land site visits, they say, that some of the areas you could just see the water was just, red with that, the battle that had happened. And that's where, justifying that name, Iikaisskini. Chief Piapat mentions that they thought they were going to come and scare. That was their intent. They're going to come and scare, this group and tell them, well, we're going to, you've attacked us, you've taken us, you've won your battles over us, and that. And that was kind of they wanted to convey that message. But they came at the wrong time. And so, but it was one of the stories that my grandmother, the her English name was Laura Buffalo Crow Shoe, and she told her daughter, which was Elsie Crow Shoe, which was my mom, and she talks about a famous black horse. In Pikani, we have a society called the Black Horse Society. That horse was led out, and I'm almost thinking it's there by the Bridge Drive and that. Anyway, Yellow Dust was his name. Utakuskaksen, that man. Yellow Dust had, that horse, and he's seen over in a camp. He's seen this Cree woman that was in that camp and that. And here that Cree woman was protecting her pipe. But he walked in and he captured, that was his coup. So he took that pipe, put it on that horse, and he walked out with it and brought it home. But my mom tells me the story that that pipe never, it never brought any kind of, it was kind of, I guess if I could use the word, bad luck that went with that. And so it just never, Yellow Dust evidently got murdered, and his mother was kind of semi-blind, so she was able to take that pipe and she, walked into the field area and, she buried it. She didn't want it, you know, she didn't want to have anything to do with that. So, those are, some of the stories that that we heard. I know there's many stories out there about, one of our ancestors, their confrontation with the Cree, and then whatever they took, because that was where they had to count coup. that's something that, to show that, they were, yeah. So that's where, the story of the, that battle and the term Iikaisskini came to be. You could see the old wagon trains. See, that's how they had to come down. You could see it was later, This land that we're looking at, that river flows in from the St. Mary's, but you could see the Old Man River coming around, and that St. Mary's River flows, the Old Man River. That area was where they had built the first fort, Fort Hoopap. And that fort was built, and if you look into over yonder this way, you could still see the wagon trails that they used because they were hauling goods from Fort Benton. They had ox carts that they came from, from Fort Benton, and they came north with some of the trade goods that they were able to bring to that fort. The Northwest Mounted Police also came west, probably about 1874, and they rented rooms in at Fort Hoopap before they carried on west to Fort McLeod. There's a lot of history that goes in that area, and again, there's a lot of stories that go with that, that part of that. But you could see again, the landscape. So this, was also prime area, for the buffalo. The trees down here are recent because they often would say that where the buffalo um, grazed and where the buffalo would, kind of like their habitat, there was no trees. There were different merchants that came, and they became the traders. One of the famous ones is John Healy, and he, you know, um, um, had a lot to do with the development of Fort Hoopap. 1962 was when they encountered multiple floods in that area because of the two rivers coming together, flooding plateau. So they, after, all those years, and then in 1962, the Kingsmen Club of Lethbridge um, decided that they were going to, they wanted to put up an attraction. And one of the attractions that they wanted to do was rebuild Fort Hoopap. And so that's where, and in fact, they say some of the lumber or the logs that they had used as a frame at the former Fort Hoopap, where they dug them up and they were able to bring them back. And a lot of our, Siksikaitsitapi, the Blackfoot people, always made a conscientious effort to go and do their trading. In fact, they would camp. There was camps that they would have, you know, of their, camping beside the fort and that. So, it's a lot of history, you know, was, have actual locations, which today, and that's setting that path of life for the future generation. And 50 years from now, 100 years from now, you know, we don't know what it's going to look like. But right there, as you see, You could see how the land is being, you know, turned over, and it's used for, you know, the farmer right there, and that's fairly level area that he had picked, and you know, and of course, you know, he has all the resources to, you know, help him with his farming and the farmland, whatever he's growing in that. Yeah, where those trees are. Buffalo hides was the main one because they'd send these buffalo hides down to probably to Chicago because they made you know, the machinery, you know, like what do you call those belts? Yeah, like yeah, conveyor belt. Yeah, they would make conveyor belts out of the buffalo hides. And that's what our people would have enough buffalo hides to go down and they would trade off, you know, that was the main trading item that they would. This is called the West Lethbridge Effigy, and it's located on the upland overlooking the Oman River Valley. It's a geoglyph composed of cobbles. The geoglyph, a design such as in this case is a representation of an animal, is produced on the ground, typically using rocks and other durable material. Geoglyphs have been produced by various cultures in various time period and occur throughout the world. They are often considered to have ceremonial, mythical, or religious significance. The West Lethbridge effigy is a geoglyph, is considered an important and highly significant site to the Blackfoot people. Observe, offerings observed at this site indicates it's still used by the Blackfoot people and remains significant to the Niitsitapi. Although it is referred to as Spoopii, it has been disturbed by past farming and activities, possibly by animals such as the bison may have kicked and displaced stones in a geoglyph. Naturally occurring processes such as the wind deposit sand and silt have covered various portions of the site. While it's generally considered uh, to be a defecate of a turtle, its modern appearance is less clear than it has been in cases century ago when it was constructed. There has been some speculation that it could have been a lizard. Also, another important animal in the Blackfoot stories and history. Over a century, Clark Whistler recorded a story about the beaver bundle involving a lizard who controlled the weather through his songs. The lizard returned a man's wife to him after she was taken by the chief. The man saw the lizard had great powers and asked the lizard if he could paint his image on the raw hide for the beaver bundle. McLean recalls a Blackfoot creation story when both a lizard and a turtle are present. Napio, the old man, floated upon a log in the waters and had with him four animals, Mami, Matsikapisa, Mami the fish, Matsikapisa the frog, Namski the lizard, and Spoopii the turtle. He sent them down into the water in order to name it to see what they could find. The first three descended but never returned. The turtle, however, arose with his mouth full of mud. Napi took the mud from the mouth of the turtle, rolled it in around in the hollow of his hand. In this manner made the earth, which fell into the waters. Afterwards it grew to its present site. Accounts by George First Writer about the origin of the beaver bundle also illustrates the connection with the lizard and the turtle. When the lizard sang, the words in his song were "I want rain." The lizard told the beaver man, "Stretch out on the hide, we will live by the rain." The turtle all said, "Put me too. You will use my shell for your facial makeup. You can use my shell for a bowl." Bullchild also recalled a story similar to Whistler where lizards could control the weather with their song depict on the beaver bundle, but Bullchild noted that the lizards have the power to control water, the rain, lightning, and thunder. The West Side turtle effigy was revisited by elders and other experts during the assessment, and general consensus arrived it to be a turtle. Elders, historical and cultural experts, and they named Wilton Goodstriker, myself, Fred Baker, Scotty Miniguns, Ira Provost, and the University of Lethbridge Professor Leroy Littlebear among the members of the Traditional Knowledge and Land Use Assessment team discussed the site. In its location in the city, in the Blackfoot traditional territory, its consequent significance. According to these experts, the lizard is a female in symbol in the Blackfoot culture, and this geoglyph is both historical and culturally significant since it harkened back to Blackfoot culture of the past when it was matriarchal culture. Similarly, the turtle in particular had a carapace, and the upper shell has mystic importance and related to both the earth and the astronomical passage of time, as well as the role of the turtle in the creation of land and humans. The turtles are one of the most long-lived, naturally occurring animals in Blackfoot territory. The Blackfoot people, culture, and people have their origins in the deep past, and the elders, experts noted the Blackfoot have occupied their territory for thousands of years. And here's a aerial view, and what you see here on this end is the head, and then as you go you see the body. Towards the end is the tail. And then when you actually draw it out, it looks like that. And then just a little more on matriarchal significance. All our medicine bundles have equality. You always have to have a female in that. And so that's where, the elders, alluded to the importance. And another thing, when you look at these rocks, you could see, this is what I was taught is spirit beadwork. And they said the rustier they look like, that shows how old they are. In other words, it's called lichen. So you could see how old this one was. They said when they first seen it, when they first were coming around, there was offerings there. Our story of Spoopii. So when you look at it like this, its head is up here. And then the legs go out, and then the tail part. Kenya.